So I think we're seeing pretty major shifts when it comes to how industries operate in general, and AI is becoming a big part of that change. And from our earlier conversations, it sounds like sport management is no exception. So there's kind of three big picture shifts that I think we're seeing.
Yep.
And the first one is I think sports always been very analytical, but the big shift is moving from being reactive to predictive, and I think that's pretty exciting. There's always been lots of data, stats, footage, and I think especially stats on players, right? So
Yes,
I think AI is really changing that capability.
absolutely. And we've gone from I think a lot of people that are interested in sport will be familiar with the movie starring Brad Pitt and the book Moneyball.
Yep.
And we've really kind of seen that analysis evolve to, as you say, being able to predict. And we see that in areas like injury prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And so think about a star player that gets injured before a key match. But what if the team had been able to predict not just a hunch, but a data-driven warning that the player was at risk of encountering an injury if they continued on a particular pathway? So the AI models that teams are using now can identify risk earlier rather than just after the fact. And a particular example that I can relay to you is one of the biggest clubs in Spanish football in their Premier League adopted a particular platform and recorded a more than 70% reduction in injuries.
Oh, wow.
Which is phenomenal, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so this is the shift from reactive to proactive happening in real terms.
Yeah.
And closer to home, the AFL and the NRL have both invested in platforms that can help manage load on players. So the physical load that they're encountering during training, so GPS monitoring, all of these kind of things, using wearables. And this is really common in elite sport now. So you could name sports, 4,000 teams across the planet that do this kind of thing now.
Yeah. So it's really, I think it's actually happening across all industries, but this idea that you can actually predict something you can't see at all is pretty incredible with the injury prediction. And also it sounds like it's not just the fact that you can predict, it's at speed and it's at scale, which is huge when it comes to lots of big teams, right? So you're not just focusing on one player, you can focus on all your players at the same time.
Correct. So it's no longer just relying on intuition.
Yes. Yep.
And of course that still has a role.
Yep.
And the personalised aspect is really important. But being able to make decisions in real time based on data, I think is one of the most significant shifts that we're seeing.
Very exciting. And something you just touched upon too, I think, which is another big shift, is that and I'm actually thinking, just in my experience in other industries, some industries are a little bit slower, but sounds like sport management is actually quite, they pick this up pretty fast because it feels like it's not as experimental. I guess there's always been so much data, but it feels like this notion of using AI is much more industry-wide. And it feels like it's no longer just for elite teams. It's definitely well, if we go to the other extreme, it's like, everyone's got their watch, right?
Yes.
So that's one extreme. But then I think it's translating beyond just elite teams.
Absolutely. And this is really interesting in a sports context because for a long time, the sport industry has had, at a community level anyway, has been kind of a kitchen table type structure.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really, really different now and it's really changing. So we're seeing not just the elite teams that we've already spoken about, but the same tools and capabilities are reaching youth academies, development pathways, but also actual grassroots sports organisations are using these things too. So the gap is closing.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons this is occurring is because the technology that we're talking about is becoming more prevalent, so it is becoming more affordable. There's organisations like Swimming Australia, the French Judo Association, which is an interesting example, and they've both piloted digital participation hubs for youth sport. So I'll say it again, the gap is definitely closing between professional and grassroots sport.
And I think that's something that's happening in other industries too. It's almost like that term, the rising tide lifts all boats. And it's a term that's been used for a while now in AI for 3 years. But I think it sounds like it's relevant because, as you said, it's accessible, it's affordable, and everyone has a phone. Just about everyone has a phone. So it means that anyone can access it. It's not something you have to buy on a huge platform. So I think that's pretty exciting for sports. And I think with that too, obviously, is probably within the industry and as well as maybe in these grassroots teams or communities, is that with this use of AI, it's really reshaping the roles within AI itself. And that then also means it's changing the skills that are required in AI. So are you seeing that the same thing as well?
Absolutely. So it's really, I guess you're looking at three aspects that you want to be able to bring to the table as someone working in sport now. So firstly, there's the sports expertise, and that's always been there, right?
Yeah.
But now we're also looking at the importance of data and AI capability.
Yeah.
So being able to understand and work with these tools and interpret the data that's being provided back to you and understand the significance of the analysis that AI is helping with.
Yeah.
And then also work with that and work with the people within inside the organisation to be able to implement this kind of stuff. So, and we're seeing clubs invest in these types of roles. So Manchester City Football Club hired a guy called Laurie Shaw, who's a Harvard research scientist.
Wow, okay.
As their,
that's quite a flip in roles.
and get this, the job title, lead AI scientist.
Right.
And he's since been recruited as Liverpool as a chief scientist across their entire group. So Liverpool's owned by Fenway Sports Group. And so one of the other sports properties that they own, one of the biggest brands in the world, is the Boston Red Sox.
Right.
So we're looking at Liverpool FC, Boston Red Sox, and they've also got a number of other properties. So a massive portfolio. So these roles are real. And again, they're not just right at the very top elite level. They're growing and they just don't look the same as what they did.
No, they don't.
In times gone by, even 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
It's different.
Yeah. So I think those are pretty big shifts. So it's less reactive, more predictive. The advantage now is not to the biggest teams, and it's actually to those who use it.
Yes.
So those, I would say, were the three big structural shifts. And next, why don't we talk about what it means day to day when you're working in sport management?
That sounds great.
Thanks.